Hi there, I'm Daniel Houghton, and this is the introduction to Fusion for absolute beginners. Here we go. Take a look at this data panel button. You can click it to hide your data panel, all your files and folders, and then it scoots over here to the left, and you can click on it again to show your data panel. I find my screen gets cluttered when I'm working in a 3D tool like Fusion, so I like to hide my data panel when I need a little bit more real estate on my screen. But for now, let's keep it open so that we can click Make a New Project. You can think of a project like a folder and call it Learning Fusion. And please note that I really do want you to learn Fusion, and with that comes this expectation that you're going to be pausing this video all the time, every 20 seconds or so. If you haven't paused it yet, do so now. Click that data panel button and click that new project button and make sure that you're keeping up with me. Please don't expect to learn Fusion by just watching the entirety of this video and hoping that some of it sinks in. It won't. I have never seen that work. What I have seen work is an active approach to working with this content. So please pause the video all the time and go do what I'm doing. And if you're stuck, say, I'm stuck, and go ask somebody for help. Myself, the monitors, the teaching assistants. There's a lot of people here to help you get unstuck. Good. Now that you've made your project, Learning Fusion, double click on it to enter the project, and you should see it's all empty in there. The very first thing that I want to do is save this untitled file that's open right now. Why save it immediately? There's nothing there to save. Well, this gives us a chance to give it a name. I'm going to call mine First CAD, First Computer Aided Design. I want to save it and name it immediately because then if my battery dies or my computer falls off the table, I know that Fusion has been auto-saving my work and I know where it's been saving it into my Learning Fusion project. So I know where to go find it if I need to recover it. And for me, the location is already set to Learning Fusion. If it's not quite there yet for you, just click on this expansion triangle and find your project, Learning Fusion. Click Save and you'll see the file pop up over here in your data panel. And notice that not only does it get a name, but it gets a timestamp, 10:08:22 a.m. And it gets an indicator that Daniel Houghton, is currently working on this file. Okay, now let's manipulate the interface. Middle click and drag to pan the view. Panning means left, right, up, down at the same angle of view. Shift middle click and drag to orbit the view. Orbiting means changing that angle of view. How am I doing this? Well, here's my 3-button mouse to middle click and drag, and here's shift middle click and drag. When you orbit the view, the grid itself orbits to remind you that your angle of view is changing. And also this 3D compass up in the corner orbits. And the compass, this little cube, is covered with useful information. Look at this word right, and look at how when I orbit the view, I come around to the word front. Take a moment to connect this to the real world. Step up to the 3D printer and look at the front and look at the right. Step up to the laser cutter, look at the front and look at the right. Step up to the CNC mill, look at the front and look at the right. And then come back to Fusion and imagine whenever you see the word front that you're standing at the front of the piece of equipment, and if you see the word right, that you're leaning around to the side and looking at it from the right-hand side. Notice that the 3D compass has 3 letters on it, X, Y, and Z. These are the 3 dimensions of 3D software, X, Y, and Z. Notice that X runs across the front. And notice that it's red in color. Notice that Y runs from front to back, and it's green in color. And notice that Z comes up off the XY plane, going up towards the top and down towards the bottom. Now look wider at the grid itself, and notice that one of the grid lines is red, just like the x-axis. This red grid line defines the x-axis in your world. Similarly, with this green line, it defines the y-axis. The z-axis usually isn't drawn. There's no blue line because it tends to be enough to see the xy plane and imagine the z-axis sticking out of it, perpendicular. All right, taking a moment to notice each of these clues baked into this very cluttered interface really helps us talk to each other about your work in 3D. It's the start of our shared vocabulary.